The Navajo being known as the Yiaitso is introduced right into the first episode of Dark Winds Season 3, and the meaning of this entity is woven both literally and figuratively throughout the third season's narrative. Thanks to the superb writing and outstanding performances of its cast, particularly lead Zahn McClarnon, Dark Winds has already been renewed for a fourth season, making it one of AMC's most acclaimed series. With Jim Chi, Kiowa Gordon, and Joe Leaphorn McClarnon, looking into the disappearance of two boys who are said to have been abducted by the monster known as Yiaitso, Dark Winds Season 3 gets off to an equally impressive start. Just a few minutes into Dark Winds Season 3 Episode 1, the Yiaitso undoubtedly lives up to its terrifying beginnings. Joe Leaphorn, played by McClarnon, appears to be hurt or under the influence of drugs when he wakes up in the middle of the night in the desert, but his main emotion is fear. Anything that pursues someone with Joe Leaphorn's steely nerves can only be pure horror when they are so terrified that they start crying. His fear and the subsequent revelation position Dark Winds Season 3 as the show's most ominous and unsettling season to date. Yiaitso, the title of the first episode of Dark Winds Season 3, establishes the tone for the entire season right away. Yiaitso means big monster, or big god, in the Navajo language, which is a clear-cut way to describe one of the most fascinating and terrifying beings in Dine culture. Just 5 minutes into Dark Winds Season 3, we get our first look at what we will eventually discover. The Yiaitso lives up to its reputation. Leaphorn notices something obviously not human when he pulls himself behind a boulder and peers over the edge to see what is chasing him. Rather, it has the appearance of a ghoul or a corpse, gray and shadowy, with its face partially hidden by a ragged shroud-like garment. However, branches and vines protrude from its back at the same time, suggesting that it also has some kind of innate, primordial connection to the land. Interestingly though, despite its name, Joe perceives something that is human-sized rather than giant-sized. However, this could also be due to perspective and camera angle. The idea and description of the Yiaitso have changed, as have the stories about it, depending on the person telling them, as is the case with most mythology that has been passed down through the ages among a people. Yiaitso was a member of the Ine, a group of malevolent monsters that resembled gods in Navajo mythology, according to the majority of mythological versions. The most dreaded of the Ine was Yiaitso, a huge, hideous creature that devoured and killed people due to its ravenous appetite. Whether it was because he ate all of the Dine people's food or because he devoured the people themselves, Yiaitso's bloodlust and gluttony were so immense and unrelenting that he strode across the land, killing and throwing handfuls of people into his mangled mouth in a single swipe. Although the story's names vary, most people agree that Yiaitso was stopped when he was killed by two brave twins who were the sons of the strong god Soanoi, the sun carrier. In other versions, however, they are the twins of the sun Jehonai. Before finally falling and killing the giant, the twins used the lightning bolts and sunbeam-made arrows that their father had given them to repeatedly strike him. They receive assistance from Soanoi/Jehonai in some retellings of the tale. Although the twins physically defeat Yiaitso in every version, in others they are assisted by the wind god Nilchai, and in still others, both Soanoi/Jehonai and Nilchai. Yiaitso is the Dine people's interpretation of a Sasquatch, the big, hairy and highly revered wild animal, according to Navajo belief, which is less mythology and more folklore. Though not as large as the Ine monster, which could engulf entire mountains and canyons in its stride, it is still enormous in comparison to humans. Ancient illustrations like the Witch Wells petroglyphs have captured this wild person version of Yiaitso. The wild Yiaitso has coexisted peacefully with the Navajo people, but it is still a creature that should be treated with caution. Both humans and Yiaitso share ancestral lands and treat each other with cautious respect. Some have even claimed to have seen the wild creatures for generations. Influenced by the Yiaitso legend, the first episode included other folklore as well. Jim Chi notes that the Navajo police suspect La Llorona, the so-called ditch witch of Mexican folklore, of committing the crime when they discover the missing child's bike covered in blood. He goes on to say that the Chicano children at his school would tease them by telling them the story of how the vengeful spirit would use a machete to cut off anyone's head if she caught them tampering in her holy arroyos. Yeah, Joe Leaphorn responds. It's like Yiaitso in Navajo.